Hey guys, welcome back to At Home Macon. Today we're sitting down with co-owner Jeremy of Diem Market. Old-fashioned service, modern convenience. We're going to talk about all things downtown Macon, what brought them to downtown Macon, the importance of high-quality dog food, all kinds of things like that, and what they want to bring to the community. So with that being said, sit back and enjoy this episode. Hey Jeremy, how you doing today?
I'm good. Good, Matthew. How are you?
Doing well, man. Thanks for asking. You mind introducing yourself real fast?
Hi, I'm Jeremy Smith. I'm one of the owners of Diem Markets. We're a downtown market and light grocer. We focus on things that are better for apartment living and downtown life. We have an excellent pet food selection. We focus on sort of some fun alternatives, grocery style things such as vegan options, female-owned businesses. We have a great local dairy that we work with. So not just the basics, a little bit of a branch out from that as well. Some things you may not find in your local grocery store and some things that you will.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, for those who don't know, how long have y'all been down here in downtown Macon? Start with the origin story.
We've been here since mid-July, about July 11th. We first opened, of course. Great time to open a business this year.
Perfect COVID weather.
2020 has just been the giving year. But it's going pretty well. I think the biggest thing is exposure. Guys like y'all helping us out. I think the more people know about us, the more people come in. They love what they see, which is great. That feels good that you're doing the right things, hopefully. So we'll be plugging right along. We'll still be here.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So kind of y'all's location, we're right off Cherry Street, downtown Macon. Kind of y'all's business models is y'all are specializing towards maybe the downtown living, some of the college students, the young professionals that are living down here, and you want to provide that service of not having to go all the way to the grocery store for pet food and that kind of thing. So let's talk about your business model there. So what are some of the products that you carry? Because I know we have a deli upstairs and pet food and then some basic groceries.
Right.
So let's start there.
So, I think some of the things that we focused on, Whitney Boyer's the other owner, is we were downtown residents before we opened this business. We lived downtown for several years. We have a historic home sort of on the edge of downtown, right there on In Town. And our biggest issue is downtown's kind of an island in and of itself. And it can be not challenging to get out, but with constant construction and other issues and the constant traffic flow of people coming in and then people leaving, we wanted to offer something that if you were a downtown resident, you didn't have to go out of the corridor anymore to get the things that you needed. So that's really where we started. And, I grew up in pet foods. So that was really my initial focus diving in is what can I provide? I'm a pet parent. I love my dogs.
What kind of dogs do you have?
I have an Australian Shepherd.
Okay.
And she's about 4, so she's just getting out of the wild child phase.
What's her name?
Rossi.
Yeah,
Betty Ross. And then, And then my other dog, which is the dog I got first, is actually a Feist, a treeing Feist, which is sort of like a big Jack Russell.
Okay.
So, no lazy days.
Yeah,
but he's
both high energy dogs.
Both high energy dogs, which he's about 9 now.
Okay.
He's getting a little gray, and he's there's a little punch, taking some of the punch out, but he's still pretty wired. And that's his name is Bruce. So Bruce Banner and Betty Ross. So Doggy Dr. Bruce Banner and Betty Ross. Like I said, I grew up in pet food, and I've always fed them quality. And so what we really wanted initially was to bring something that we were familiar with, something that we enjoyed and we were passionate about to downtown, because they're, I think, one of the pre-emergent communities in downtown and sort of the closer in-town areas and towards the college is pet ownership.
Okay.
For a lot of people. A lot of people now are getting pets before kids, and a lot of people are living in these smaller apartments, so they tend towards pets and plants. So I think that was really the progenitor for us a couple years ago, is looking around and saying, what do we need as individuals, and let's work from there first. Because we always felt like, if we could get what we wanted, then a lot of other people would agree with us.
Fantastic. So how did the whole idea kind of go about? So you and Whitney, y'all are sitting there probably a year or two ago and thinking, man, this inconvenience of not getting the stuff we need, it's painful. So y'all came out here to serve a mission. How did the whole process starting for Diem Market? Because it's a great idea.
Well, I think the biggest thing that we were looking for initially was sort of this scalability, right? Like I had some background growing up in retail with pet food.
Because you grew up in Jackson, right?
Right. I grew up in Jackson, Georgia. It's about 45 minutes north of here.
Okay.
I think people are familiar with the lake. Jackson Lake's pretty popular. So I grew up on a farm a ways from there.
Okay.
What was initially a dairy farm, and then my father, when I was about 13, sold off his cattle and bought a feed store. And so I was sweeping floors and stuff when I was 13 or 14, and sort of got my education that way. And it was really sort of a groundwork education of the pieces that go into the food, and then the brands that represents. Because, you know, grocery stores carry certain brands, and those brands tend to be tied to other food brands that are in the grocery store, so that when they're, you know,
it's like a bigger portfolio.
Right, a bigger portfolio, so they offer within their portfolio dog foods. Feed mills, you know, and especially pet supply stores tend to pull from independently owned companies that all they do is pet food. That's their only portfolio. So if they have a recall or they do something wrong, it can sink their whole company. Whereas larger grocery brands tend to have the insulation of, well, you know, if something doesn't really go right, we'll recall the food, we'll make it right, but we have the money and the resources to kind of sustain that flow. And sometimes that can speak to things like guaranteed analysis and other things that...
What's guaranteed analysis?
Guaranteed analysis is what you get what is on the bag. And so there's an independent agency called AFCO, which is the feed producers sort of co-op, and they control what goes into various foods. It goes into your livestock. They control livestock food, the food that feeds the food you eat. They control those feeding regimens, and they make sure that people aren't putting crazy chemicals and stuff in things. And what the guaranteed analysis is they'll go and they'll go to a manufacturer or sometimes a retailer. I haven't seen them yet, but I've heard that they do go to retailers, and they'll pick a bag off the shelf and they'll pull it, they'll buy it, and they'll take it to a lab and they'll test it, and they'll separate all the parts out. They'll test those parts against what's on the bag, and that's called guaranteed analysis. I think in America now, you have to offer guaranteed analysis on your pet foods for domestic pets, and I think domestic feedstock now as well, where you have to have something on the bag that says you guarantee that what we're advertising is in the bag is actually in the bag. And the brands that we carry, Midwestern and Diamond, have always done exceptionally well in those guaranteed analysis. And other brands have done well too. You know, I think for us, part of that mission, like you said, are brands that we believe in. So I stuck with brands that I was familiar with and that I knew were quality, that I had seen go out the door a lot working for my dad, and came back with positive reviews for less cost. I mean, you won't see these brands most of the time advertised on TV. They don't really work that way. They've built their customer base from the ground up the hard way in a lot of
kind
ways.
of the quality over quantity kind of model.
Exactly. You know, you got Diamond Pet Foods really found their niche, feeding things like maintenance and high performance, high protein dog foods to things like hunting kennels and police dogs and things like that, and have kind of really trended into the more specialty meat market after that. They produce Taste of the Wild, which I think a lot of people are familiar with. It's one of the top brands now, you know, through mail order services.
Yeah, you got a bunch of it sitting right here, don't you?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and you know, there's a lot of positives with a brand like that has a lot of feed profile, all within one facility. The great thing about single facility production, and they're producing various lines, is that if you know, you don't have the transition period. I think most pet owners know that if you have to transition foods, you have like that 2-week period.
It's not
a fun time. So once you kind of get into the Diamond brand, since it's single facility production, a lot of the additives, a lot of the nutrient additives and the post additive that they do, it's all the same across their dog foods. So it tends to be more uniform and a more uniform dietary experience for your pet. So you can change flavors if you want without necessarily having the gut punch to your dog, which is good.
Fantastic. So what it sounds like you're saying is the brands y'all have in here, they've been handpicked, they're the quality. It's not just anyone can get in here. So kind of going off that, what's the importance of feeding your dog or your cat a high quality dog food versus something else? You know,
and this is what I tend to tell people. You know, there is a lot of personal preference in pet food. Dogs are animals just like people. You know, people digestively. We will adjust to things. I think it's about getting the most out of your pet, though. You know, if your pet's an indoor dog and kind of lazy, that's okay. You know, I have a pet food for that. I have a maintainer that is going to be a little bit higher in fat, a little bit less in protein. Don't necessarily need to give him a ton of protein just because it's a large breed dog. You know, maybe feed a little less of a quality food, so it'll go a little bit further, and he's going to enjoy eating more. I mean, if you had to eat saltine crackers every day for the rest of your life, you know, people just kind of look at their dog food and they go, you know, well, it's got venison in it. Of course he's going to love it. Yeah, he's going to love it. And then after 2 years, he may not like it so much. You know, you can love cheese pizza. 2 years of cheese pizza gets boring.
You'll get tired eventually.
So having options where you can say, well, let's switch from venison and let's try lamb for a little while. You know, just change it up for him. Give him something new to experience. You also have, You may have a dog that's got dry skin. Well, why is that? Maybe he's not getting enough oil. Well, instead of having to worry about finding an oil supplement for your dog or treating it topically from the skin in, the right kind of food will do a lot to correct that as well. Various intolerances and imbalances that dogs can achieve, just like people, and food is one of the first places to start. Nutrition is one of the first places to start with people as well. So I think the biggest thing is that getting into a brand that at least if you're coming to me frequently, or going to even Tractor Supply or a pet's store, having that constant back and forth and knowing what's in the store, and you can move through kind of on your own pet food journey to get your dog in the right place. It's not like going in a grocery store or going online where you're shotgunning and trying 2 or 3 different things across 2 or 3 different brands. You actually have someone you can work with, talk to, and try to get on a correct regimen for your animal, which will make them happier, will make you happier, because they'll do things like poop less, they'll do things like fart less, and not chew all the hair off their butts like my dog did. So.
Well, there you go. That's awesome. So it really sounds like a customer can come in here and really develop a relationship with Arizona.
That's what we hope. We really strive to be the old world general store, even without pet food, even into some of our regular foods and regular brands. We want to have that connection with people. We want people to get to know us. We want to get to know people, their preferences, and what they like. I mean, if you're looking for a specific thing, if I can find it for you, I'm going to find it. I'm going to carry it for you because I want you to come in because, you came in for that one thing. And, we live in an online world now where people can just Google or Amazon something.
Get in 2 days.
And then, that's great. That is, it's really good. There's a lot there if you have specialty dietary issues and other things, but you start to miss that connection too, and you miss the chance to see things that could work with that, or, a chance to experience new brands, because, Amazon, just like a grocery store, is going to get pride of place, and they're going to, pitch that to companies. And so companies are paying to be in front of you more. So, a place like this, we work hard to highlight brands that aren't in a lot of other spots, because those brands tend to be things like female and minority owned. Those things, a sale here of Pacific Pickles, which is a great pickling company that we carry. I carry Georgia made pickling stuff as well, but they do some fun combinations and some other things that are just very, very interesting, and they make fun flavor combinations that you wouldn't experience in a grocery store in Georgia, for the simple fact that their region is the Pacific Northwest. But they reached out to us, sent us samples. We thought it was an excellent product, so we started carrying them. And they've flown off the shelves because it's something new, it's something to experience. So that's what we want to give customers. I can't be Sam's Club, I can't be Kroger, I can't be Publix, I certainly can't be Amazon, and I don't want to be. I don't want to be those things. I want to give people some of the things they need. I mean, I carry things, Pop-Tarts. I carry
instant ramen,
those kind of things. And I try to be price competitive on those things. But while you're here, take a look around. You may find a funny tea that's female owned. You may find minority owned hair care product that you like, a locally made knit shopping basket. So, I think that's important, because that helps grow somebody. It's the impact of that sale. Your money on Amazon has a lot less impact than your money in a shop like mine, not just because I get the money, but because another small business owner, sometimes across on the different coasts of the country, gets impact. They get sales, they get recognition that what they're doing is working.
Exactly.
And that's hugely important for some people, especially if they're, and anyone that has a small business, it's a slog the first few years. And all you really want is to make sure,
customers,
right, and that what you're doing is working, and so the morale part of it too, especially in a year like 2020, where everybody's retreated online, and safety first for people, absolutely, but we're in a lot of ways leaving our neighbors behind, because we're going to the lowest common denominator and the greatest, and it's not that the brands aren't competitive price wise; these aren't crazy boutique brands, really. It's that they just don't have the name recognition to get front and center in large brands.
Wow, we're getting deep on this morning. So let's kind of do that. We just went through Small Business Saturday not too long ago. Are there any particular small brands that you want to highlight that you're really proud to carry in here? Talk about the pickling company.
Yeah, Pacific Pickles, amazing. There's a tea company upstairs, and I'll show them to you. But they use a lot of colorful language in their tea blend names. Female-owned business out of Texas.
Fantastic.
Tons of fun. The tea is actually extremely good. And I encourage people to come and see because it's not something. They're not names that you can use in, shall I say, casual conversation. But they make excellent conversation starters sitting on a shelf in your home. The packaging's impeccable. Coro, a female-owned meat packaging and drying company. We have them upstairs in gift baskets. Georgia sourdough is awesome, and I think that they can be found in some stores other than ours for sure locally. Georgia grinders, the peanut butter market is so dense now, and you have a local grinder out of Atlanta that's using Georgia peanuts. Feature them. And again, that's a brand you can find in a grocery store, but it's not going to get pride of place. It's not going to be straight up there. We have blackberry patch preservatives and jams and honeys that we have. Georgia has an olive grower that presses olive oil. You can get olive oil, virgin olive oil made in Georgia. So, those are the things that, just come in and see, even if you don't necessarily buy from me or if you don't buy your second one from me. If you find a connection to a brand and you can help those smaller brands sometimes, I think that's part of, like you said, what's the mission? That's part of the mission too. We're all in this together, really. And part of that is your dollar means a lot. Your dollar means a lot. So spend it in a way where it has the most impact, especially if the prices are competitive.
Wow, that's absolutely incredible. So walking through the front door, it really is quite an experience. You have the immediate upstairs, the immediate downstairs, and we'll talk about the deli in a little bit and then downstairs and what's on the main level. But backtracking a little bit, what kind of experience do you want to have someone walking through the door? So it's a Tuesday, someone's off work, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, they're walking their dog downtown, they happen to walk by and they walk through the front door. What do you want that experience to be like for that consumer?
Well, first I want them to feel comfortable. I think grocery stores have gotten kind of cold in a lot of ways, not just temperature wise. And the staff doesn't really know the product. And, I still go to grocery stores, nothing against them. But in getting bigger, they've kind of spread themselves out. And now all the checkouts are, robots. No self-checkout here? No self-checkout here. I'm still waiting, for my check from Kroger for checking out all my own groceries, I'm waiting for that discount check to come through. But, I think that I want people to feel like they've maybe stepped back 30 or 40 years. That'd be really cool. I think that's sort of a fun thing of the space. We're in the old Dannenberg building, and they did an amazing renovation here a decade ago. And a lot of this space, they really highlighted what it used to be, and it's always been a store. So I think trending into that, our countertops. Whitney's family, the Boyer brothers, ran a general store out in Linton, Georgia. And it was a country store. It's an old little country general store that doubled as the post office in a town of like 100 people. And they built the cabinets that went in there, and it was a 2-day, 8-person ordeal to get them in there, but they're 110 years old, and that it anchors the space, and it's part of what we want to represent to people is that we don't just say it, old world charm. We want to be all the good parts of an old world store. Hopefully not everything's 2 weeks out. Order it and get it in 2 weeks from the Sears Roebuck, but we really want people to feel that sense of like, oh, okay, like this is maybe what the shopping experience was, at least a taste of it 40 years ago.
Why is it important to y'all to have the old world charm, the experience that people would have 30 or 40 years ago? Like what about that connects you to that?
Yeah, I think at least for me, that's what my dad's feed store was like, and I didn't know it was any different really until I got, 16, 17, 18 and started having to really go out and do shopping and those sort of things. And I think for me, at least, it being the mid 2000s, kind of when that was going on, I'm sure you guys experienced it too, that shift away where, all the sort of Piggly Wigglies and stuff of the world started either getting big or they started disappearing. The jobs of stocking shelves and working checkout started to disappear because you could put a machine in that would do it. Amazon emerged into the world and changed the retail game forever for everybody. And so, we have a whole generation of people that all kind of left behind, and that's the new way of doing things, and it's efficient and it's incredible and it's cost effective. But I think that what you lose in that is really the ability to know what's grown, what's around me. I think that if you sat down with some people and explained to them how hard it was to get avocados 15 years ago in Georgia, they'd think you're insane. They're like, well, I can go to Kroger and get avocados because everyone's so used to it now.
They go to Chipotle and get their guac.
They go to Chipotle and get their guac, but it's exceedingly difficult thing, and there's still a lot of logistics to that. And I think the pandemic's shown some of that too. I mean, we've experienced it in some of our specialty deli meats, getting in some produce right at the height of when I should have been able to get a ton of local produce and other things at a fairly good price for a supplier my size.
Yeah.
All that disappeared because the larger supply chain companies, you know, the grocery stores, the Sam's of the world, they went to the smaller growers that were still open because the large processors were still closed, and they bought up all their stock. Well, they basically gutted the lower middle of the market out. And so small retailers like me were left with, you know, pre-orders that just didn't get filled. And nothing against those suppliers, nothing against those farmers. You have an opportunity to sell probably the most product you've ever sold in your life, and collect a check. You got to take it. I mean, that's you got to take that kind of money. So, you know, I think that I'm hoping anyway that as the pandemic sort of loosens up, there's positive news about vaccines, that people are going to want to get back out. They're going to want to see things. You know, I just don't think you can carry the same things that would have worked 10 years ago. You know, you can't just be a basic grocery store. You need to do something that means something to people. But people still want that connection. People want to be able to connect to brands. People want to be able to connect to a local store. You know, and that's why we've trended hard to be that and be a little bit of everything where people can find something here. Because if I can get you in and you find something that you like, but I don't necessarily have what you need, well, if it's something that you need a lot, of course I'm going to try to carry it for you because you're my neighbor. I want to help you. So I think some of that's kind of gone away with the convenience too. And, you know, I think the other thing the pandemic's shown is that 2-day shipping isn't always 2-day shipping. The logistical challenges now that are facing things like the post office, things like shipping companies, UPS. I think that paradigm's changing. You know, it's not anything that I think is going to happen rapidly, but if that's the new commerce, there's going to be a lot of upheaval in that sector. What's going to happen to 2-day delivery after that? If Amazon can't get the post office to fulfill it, are they going to have to put in their own shipping infrastructure? If they do, great. At what point does it become so big that you break them up? And then it becomes the whole same problem for Amazon all over again, and that means costs go up. So, I mean, it's interesting. We live in a really cool, dynamic time. I know 2020 sucks for a lot of reasons. Of course. But the next 5 years are going to be pretty wild, I think, for a lot of industries. And, you know, we'll try to be here. We want to be here.
Yeah, of course. So it sounds like y'all really, really appreciate and value the human connection. So someone coming in and actually having that conversation, similar to what you would have in like an Andy Griffith episode or something like that. Is walking down the street, walking in, someone saying, "Hey," that kind of people know your name, that kind of thing. And I think that's going to be the commodity going forward. It is going to be service, not even necessarily. The service industry is growing. I don't just mean restaurants. I mean being able to put faces to the brands and the things that you like, and being able to say, well, this is why I feed this dog food. This is why I believe in this product. This is why we carry a pickle from Washington State. It's a good product, and we like it. We believe in it, and we think you'll enjoy it. So of course, and that comes with curation. And I think that. I think there will be other small shops like ours, maybe not in Macon, but I think that there is some of that emerging. Curation is going to be the key. There's so much product overload now, and it's getting to be where you can't trust basically the front ends of those because companies are paying just like they did at grocery stores for pride of place on a shelf. Well, they're paying to be front page now. So is it really the best product? Is it really the best fit for you? Or is it that it's the lowest common denominator product that an algorithm's figured out that you will buy? And so they're presenting it to you. And so you get it, and after 2 days, you're kind of like, all right, it's serviceable. But you're missing out on something that could be better. Or you're missing out on something that could have more impact. And something that you could show your friends. Something that you could take to people and say, look at what I found. Think of where I found it. And I think for people over the next few years, that's going to be important. That's a lot of insight, absolutely. So let's kind of spin it off to this let's talk about Macon a little bit. So you're originally from Jackson, so your dad owned the feed store. What y'all historic home down here in Macon? What originally brought you to Macon? Why set up here in downtown?
Yeah, well, my business partner and life partner, Whitney, we just had our first child, Ophelia. She's 4 weeks old. 4 weeks old yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah, she's itty bitty.
Yeah, it's a new baby.
Yeah, brand new. Still got that new baby smell.
There you go.
But for me personally, it was the chance to own a historic home. It was something that I set out. I thought, man, that'd be great if I could own a historic home when I'm 50 or something. And there was one sitting there. Macon has an incredible historic society. They're excellent to work with. And so that was really the key opportunity. And for Whitney, you know, because we were living in Atlanta at the time, it was sort of a homecoming, coming home, being close to her folks and friends in the area.
Are her folks from Macon? Was she from Macon originally?
Yes, she is. She's a Mercer alumni from Macon originally. There you go. So for her, it was a coming home party, I think, and really an opportunity, I think, to jump in. You know, Macon was already kind of getting on the upswing, and so we saw downtown as part of that. And we wanted to kind of ride that roller coaster with everybody else. So, you know, I was still commuting back and forth to Atlanta for 2 years, and finally it was kind of like, well, you know, we're living down here. I'm young enough. I kind of want to try to find a job, and so we started kicking around looking for jobs, and finally I was like, well, there's nothing that really fits both what I'm passionate about and what I'm good at. So what do I do? And at some point, you just got to jump in and create a job.
So you're doing your own thing.
Yeah, and it's been fun. It's been wild, but it's been fun too.
How long was that ago? Did y'all start moving down here?
About 8 years ago.
Okay, so what kind of transformation have you seen in downtown Macon? Because really, everyone down here has seen a huge transformation in downtown Macon the last few years. Talk about that a little bit.
Right. I think the living, number one, the population density, the inclusion of, I mean, you have so many lofts now, varying in huge quality.
Yeah.
I think has really helped, because that creates sort of a base, you know, that you can then start to build businesses on, because it's not all commuter business at that point. And I think too, the filling of spaces, you know, the town looks vibrant, it looks full, which helps. You know, even the spaces that are vacant now are under development. There's very few just totally vacant light properties, which I think helps. I mean, you know, at least from the stories I've heard from other locals, if you came into downtown Macon 15 years ago, there was really just kind of Cherry Street and a few places on there, and then everything else was just vacant, you know, vacant in a semi-state of construction, which can just be killer. You know, people, there's the aesthetics of it. How does a place look? You know, and redoing the parks, I think, has been a big boon. Macon really is a city within a park, and I think we're finally starting to see some of that now, utilizing the park for events. And
what do you mean by that? What do you mean by the parks? Like Central City Park or?
Central City Park, I like the return of having a baseball team, I think, is just totally fun. Because I remember coming as a kid to watch the Macon Braves. So, you know, the park out there, they just had the Pottery Festival out there, and I think the improvements there have been good. But just here in town, I mean, so much of Macon's parks are these median areas that you wouldn't think would be parks, but they are. And we're starting to utilize them now for things like Beer Fest. We're starting to utilize them for weddings. They're starting to be utilized again and beautified, and it represents Macon in the background, because you can't be in the park without seeing the businesses and the buildings in the background. So I think that almost that Macon is unique in that the way it's spread out, the way it's laid out with its parks and its open spaces really lend a lot to if you want to have a festival, if you want to have a big music thing. You know, I've missed Bragg Jam terribly bad this year, but that it coincides well with the downtown ecosystem and the businesses there. You don't have to pick up your festival and extract it out of a population zone, and all the businesses lose that money. Because, you know, you've seen Atlanta and other things, you know, you'll get these huge festivals come to town, but they're so big now that they have to put them outside. So you think, oh, there's 2 million people coming. Well, it has no impact on the local businesses, really. You get some money influx, and then you get some down trickle. Whereas Macon, you get to have those events in downtown proper, which I think is amazing, and I hope they don't go away from. I think that it's better to keep the events sort of small to medium size, make them work with downtown and the businesses therein, than try to move it. You know, Central City's great, but it's so far extracted that I think it'll do more hurt than to help.
Happened in Macon over the last 8 years? Have you enjoyed seeing any transformations, anything like that? Because you'll notice even just the facades of HBO coming down here and filming those, of the storefronts. Which, I mean, the buildings themselves may be vacant. At least they did a pretty job making the outside look really pretty. Which I think is important. Yeah. You know, I think the film industry in Georgia as a whole has had a great impact. I have friends that work in it. I have family that worked in it. I worked in it for years. And it shows you kind of what positive impact it can have on a community, for sure. I mean, it's usually a huge influx of money and a huge influx of people. I think that the projects that have most excited me as a resident in downtown have been the beautification projects in public spaces, because that's a reflection of your town's investment sort of back. I mean, I think BID is one of the best things we've done as a downtown community, and the idea that you have now constant
beautification, and that it really does. It's starting to feel, to me anyway, it feels like a park. It feels like a park, and that's sort of the motto of the city, is a park or city within a park. So I'd like to see that more. I mean, I love the green spaces, and I think other people like them. I mean, green spaces are the ultimate sort of democratic thing. You know, it's just a big open space, and anybody can be there if they want to be. You know, you ain't got to pay to go there. You can just hang out. And having a business across from a big, beautiful green park. I mean, I as a business want to utilize that park, and probably will come spring. You know, do some fun things with pets and animals and things that I enjoy. But other projects, you know, hotels. I think hotels are the big next step for downtown. And we've got a couple coming in that I think are going to be really good. I hope that they still keep coming. I know 2020's kind of pulled the rug out from a lot of people. That and sort of the transformation of the vertical spaces. So much of downtown's buildings that weren't renovated, you couldn't see any second or third story windows. It was just these big sort of marble facades and things that were beautiful 50 years ago. So I think now that you have living up there, it feels more alive. Just the city feels more alive. I think that's one of the things about like bigger cities, Atlanta and New York and other places, is the verticality. You get in there and everything's up and it's living, it's life all the way up. You know, it's sort of a urban forest that way, which is really cool. And I think Macon's got great elements of that, you know, and they've done a lot to keep it historic. They've done a lot with making sure we don't have just some massive dominant skyscrapers, which I think is important too. I think we can live in both worlds. I think we live in both lanes.
Exactly. So it brings like a lot better feel to the city, like it's living, and especially in that engagement in the community. So with that being said, have there been some ways that Per Diem has been trying to engage with the community? Any things that have been going on?
Well, we participated in a can drive recently, which was fun. I think going into the new year, so with COVID, you know, there's some hesitation about gathering people together. And I think that for us, that's a big tenement of what we want to do. So we're unfortunately, we've kind of been sidelined with some things. We have ideas in the works. And so as things get safer, we're hoping to participate more.
Do y'all have any big goals for 2021 for Per Diem?
Well, for me would be sort of Fur Friends Fridays, which would be taking some First Fridays, incorporating the parks outside, and creating sort of a dog and pet friendly meetup space. I can, you know, bringing in things like product reps that I know, vets and pet trainers, and sort of making that a regular thing where, you know, if you are recent to the city and you have a pet and you want to meet other people with pets and maybe have a walking group, there's a social space to do that. I think would be a lot of fun, because you know, you see pets, I see them everywhere, but there seem to be just kind of isolated people walking, you know, and so I think it'd be fun to have sort of an event, especially in the spring and the summer, that brings those people that are passionate about their animals together and gives them a place to be with one another.
That's awesome. I know sometimes actually we live across the street from the park. At least my girlfriend does in Atlanta. They had a golden retriever meetup. And it was probably 75 golden retrievers. And that was just an amazing thing to see. It's just purely the same breed, just 75 golden retrievers right there. So, but a little off topic. So let's switch back to kind of Per Diem Market. Walking through the front door, we want to talk about the deli a little bit. We want to talk about downstairs. Let's start at the top and go below. So upstairs, y'all have what?
So upstairs is our deli, our sandwich deli. So we produce one sandwich, one soup, one salad of the week.
Okay.
And that's just pertaining to what do we get? That's because so much of our stuff is market dependent right now. So we do have a full menu planned, and we've had one. It's just been such a challenge logistically that we probably won't roll that back out until 2021. The soup, we do a soup of the week. This week's soup is like a harvest blend soup. So it's got mild Italian sausage and potatoes, jasmine rice. It's more of like a pontiff or ratatouille, where it's very thick, almost like a rice stew. And that includes, you know, jalapenos for kick and some other things. So very much like a wild changing, rotating menu. Our sandwich is a sort of, we call it the meat machine, and it's a chicken ham blend. It's got fresh cucumber slices on it, sun-dried tomatoes, and a pesto aioli, and like an avocado spread. I won't say it's quite guac. But it's more like a seasoned avocado spread. Just mixed with the pesto aioli, which is really, really good. But it's those sort of things, you know. We just got pastrami in, so we'll start slicing pastrami and having that out for sale. And it's a really good New York pastrami.
What was the idea of bringing the deli to Per Diem?
Well, for us, I think it was that same thing of we wanted to include something that wasn't currently in downtown that we thought would excite people. And so it was, well, let's do a sandwich deli. Well, after that, it was starting to track down really good product, because we were like, well, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it with the top tier product. And US Foods came through with actually a Metro Deli line, which is out of New Jersey, which is really, really good product. Very low, you're talking about 4 or 5 ingredient meats, preserved meats, which is impressive. If you go and read, smoked turkey slices from the grocery store, there's some things you can't pronounce in there. So for us, I think it was, again, about getting quality into the market and hopefully creating a place where people come back to. And there's some interesting things we want to do with it in 2021. We'll see how it pans out. I would like to get a lot more into like steak cutting and sausage production. I would love to make a house blend sausage. We'll see. Like I said, there's hurdles there, regulation wise, as far as working with USDA and other things when you're working with raw meat. But that was part of the reason of putting the deli in, was the expandability of that. If we go ahead and put in a deli with all the things regulated for a deli, there's maybe just 1 or 2 extra steps to get into some fun places for people that we think, that we've had some demand from our customer base about. So, it's kind of, we'll see how it pans out. But we like having the flexibility of the space for sure.
Fantastic. Let's kind of go right here for a little bit. When someone walks into the store, Jeremy, what do you want them to know that they may not know about Per Diem? So, sure. What do you want them to know?
Well, I want them to know that you can grab a quick bite. All of our sandwiches are pre-made, so you're not going to be sitting and waiting around. We can press it on a panini if you got a few minutes and you want a hot press sandwich. The soup's hot; it's ready to go. Our real focus on those sort of things are to get you in and out quickly if you want, or if you just want to go ahead and get your food. A lot of people only have a 30-minute lunch, so that's a big focus for us too. Other than that, I would say, look around. Odds are we have something brand new that is in this week that we just got that no one's laid eyes on yet. So look around, and you're probably going to find a product you didn't even know you wanted. So I would say that, kind of give yourself not give yourself the time, but give yourself a little bit of the space and talk to us. Please ask us questions. That's what we're here for. That's what we love. We try to familiarize ourselves a lot with the products that we carry, because we want to be able to talk with people about what their needs may be, or what they may actually be looking for. And we're trying to get more into locally made products. I mean, we've got hopefully some wooden gifts and stuff coming out towards the holiday too, that I think is exciting. So that's mostly what I want people to know is if you came in Tuesday and didn't, just couldn't find something that you wanted, and you come in on a Thursday, make another lap, because you might find something new.
There you go. Well, let me ask you this, Jeremy. So we have a lot of small businesses that kind of watch these videos and reach out to us. If there's a small brand, maybe like one of my mom and pop shops, something like that, can they come to Per Diem and say, hey, this is my product?
Absolutely. So the Georgia Department of Agriculture does restrict some things. It just depends on what they're producing under. If they're producing under a cottage license, that usually means that they're direct to consumer. If they are producing under like a retail license, then we can use them. And we'd love to talk to people. I mean, I've got locally made dog treats, and she just came in physically and reached out to us. I've got some dried fruit that's made locally. Eva's apples. Say that 10 times fast. But she does a myriad of dehydrated fruits and fruit blends that are really good. I sell a ton of garnishes for cocktails, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, please, and that was a physical walk-in. She just walked into the space and spoke with us. By all means, and look us up on social media. Reach out to us. We want to talk to you. If you're a local brand or you're doing something that you think you can move here, we want to help you. We want to get you in the space, and we want to help you. I know some people some spaces can be a little rigid on consignment. We're not those kind of people. We try to work with people. So, I'd love to get locally made brands in. I think that's where, as far as dollars for impact, staying super local like that does the most. And that's what we want to do for people.
Well, fantastic. Well, as we wrap up here, really enjoyed talking to you and learning more what Per Diem Market is. You want to give everyone watching a quick shout out, your address, social media handles, where they can find you, what they want to do. This is your 30-second plug.
So look us up online, perdiemmarket.com. You can always Google us. We're also on Facebook. Search us on Facebook and Instagram. That's a lot of times where we roll out our weekly specials, any kind of new sales coming out. So always check there first. Also, you can call the store. I have the number 478-200-1982. Call us, talk to us, and maybe we can find. I have this amazing amount of phone calls that we get actually. For a generation that's like afraid, has a phone
all
phobia.
texters.
Right. I get a ton of phone calls. Hey, do you guys have this? Well, let me look around. Let me see what I can find. So contact us. Reach out to us. We'd love to try to help you. If you want to come in and just look around and talk about the things that you're passionate about, or brands that you want to see, we love that too, because it always gives us a place to look. We are always on the hunt for new things. So if you know of a product, if you have a product, if you're a local maker, come speak with us. We want to have space for you. We may have something that's already too similar, and we don't want to push those people out, but we'll try. We absolutely want to try to help you because it helps us too.
Absolutely. Awesome, Jeremy. Thank you so much for sitting down with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Awesome. Well, everyone, thanks for watching. Again, this is Matthew Griffin with At Home Macon. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to y'all soon. Have a great one. Bye.